Hey peeps, Claudia King here, founder of Automio, creator of Scale Up and award-winning legal innovator. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 7 metrics you can easily measure in your law firm to scale it to 7 figures. So let's get into it. So peeps, here's the deal. When I first start working with law firm owners, something I notice is that they tend to make decisions in their law firms with gut feel. Now, there's always something to be said for gut feel and intuition, but I much prefer using data to help me make decisions and drive growth in my business. So one thing I've noticed, all of the law firm owners who I work with who are growing their firms the fastest, they are scaling from low 6 figures to high 6 figures, or from high 6 figures to 7 figures, those law firm owners all have one thing in common, and that is they all track their metrics and they use that data to drive growth by regularly analyzing it and looking for the patterns and using that information to make decisions about how to drive growth in their law firm. And they do this on a regular basis, at least once a month. So perhaps you are a law firm owner who is just completely turned off by numbers. You do not like looking at your figures, you don't like talking to your accountant, it all just seems too hard and, to be honest, pretty fucking boring. Or perhaps you're a law firm owner and you track your revenue and track your profit. You might track a couple of other things. You might look at it every month or two, but you don't really know how that data or that financial information that you're looking at, you don't really know how to use that to actually make decisions and drive growth in your law firm. So here's the thing. When I had my law firm, when I was a 6-figure law firm owner, before I scaled it to 7 figures, I tracked my metrics and I looked at them once a month. And by metrics, I mean just some of the basics like my revenue, my profit, my debtors. But I didn't look at that data month on month, and I didn't look for the trends and the patterns, and I had no idea how to use that information to drive growth in my business. So when it came to making decisions about marketing, about new clients, about new strategies and opportunities, I had no idea how to use data to help me drive my decision making. It was all based on gut feel and intuition, and sometimes that worked out and sometimes it didn't. But as soon as I was able to figure out a way to track the right metrics in a way that I was able to look for patterns over time, I was able to use that information to really drive growth in my law firm, and I was able to make decisions based on data instead of my intuition or gut feel, which could quite often end in drama. And we have a saying here at Automio, we do data, not drama. We do business, not drama. So that is why I wanted to do this video for you today and tell you the 7 metrics that you can measure in your law firm to drive growth and scale to 7 figures. So number 1 is number of free days. Now, basically, unless you've worked with me before, I can't imagine any law firm anywhere measuring this metric. So number of free days is all about days off that you have. So a free day is a day where you don't do client work, you don't check emails, you don't take client calls, you don't make client calls, and you're not running around doing admin on the weekends. So that is a free day. Now, can you think about work? So it depends. So yes, if you're thinking about sort of productive ways to improve your law firm, if that sort of stuff is coming up for you, absolutely fine. If you're obsessively thinking about a client file and some of the work that you're going to have to do on Monday, that's not cool, okay? That's not a free day. Now, the importance of free days is that as you're growing your law firm, you need to rest and refresh your mind and body. I believe that rest is revolutionary. Okay, we live in this hustle culture where everybody's hustling And I have bought into that previously, but what I have learned is that the more rest I give myself and the more I sort of invest in myself in terms of my physical health and my mental health, the more my business grows. So free days is all about giving yourself the rest and the mind space you need to make great decisions and grow your business. So, and another question I often get asked is, can you take 2 half days and does that count as a free day? No, it doesn't. A half day will not give you the same mental clarity, or 2 half days will not give you the same mental clarity as taking off at least 1 full day. So that's number 1, number of free days. And the best way to, this is kind of harder to measure, but what I do is at the end of every month, I have a look at my calendar. I put my calendar into month view and I go through and count up around about how many free days I had. So I don't work weekends, so automatically there's at least 8 free days. I also don't work Fridays anymore, so that's another 12, say 12 free days. For you, it might be less. And sometimes when I first start working with law firm owners, they will be at 0. And that is, that's not okay, but it's good to know where you're at so that you can start to improve on it bit by bit from there. So that's number 1, number of free days. Number 2 is number of days working in your strengths. So if you've been in my audience for a while, you've probably heard me talk about how important it is to work in your strengths. And a strength is something that you're inherently good at, you were born good at. It's not something that you learned at uni or on the job. Okay, so finding out what your strengths are is the starting point here, and you can use strengths and personality tests like DISC, Colby, Myers-Briggs. My favorite one is Strengths Finders, the Gallup Strengths Finders. So any of those or all of those will help you to figure out more about yourself and what your strengths are. And then once you become aware of what your strengths are, it's really important that you work to your strengths and you try and work in those strengths as much as possible. So the metric is number of days in your strengths. So a day working in your strengths is a day where you spend 80% of your time working in your strengths, okay? If it's less than 80%, it's not a day working in your strengths. Now, how do you measure this? So again, a little bit like free days, there's no real accurate way to measure this, but again, I put my calendar in month view at the end of each month, and I have a quick look, I have a quick sort of count based on what I did that day as to whether it was a day in my strengths or not. So to start with, if you haven't got good at delegating yet, if you haven't sort of restructured the way that you work yet around your strengths, you need to start somewhere, and knowing how many days you're working in your strengths, even if it's low, even if it's none, it's a starting point, and you can start to work incrementally from there on improving the number or increasing the number of days that you are working in your strengths. So that's number 2, number of days in your strengths. So that's one of the things that you need to measure to help you scale your law firm to 7 figures. Right, number 3 is an easy one, revenue. Well, actually I say it's easy, but lots of law firm owners measure this in different ways. So some will say the revenue is the amount of money that they bring in every month, so the amount of money that hits their bank account. Others, it'll be based on the invoices that they render each month, the number of bills that they do. And other law firm owners will do it based on how many letters of engagement or cost agreements they have signed every month. So they may not have actually billed the client yet, but based on having an agreement for that work, then they will often count that as part of their firm's monthly revenue. So I'm not going to stand here and tell you which one is right. I like the first one where cash hits the bank account, but you do you, but as long as you're measuring it consistently and you're reviewing it on at least a monthly basis, that is really, I think, all that matters. So that was number 3, revenue. Number 4 is profit. So, basically that is revenue minus your expenses. Most of you will probably already measure that, which is great. So just making sure that you are looking at that on at least a monthly basis and tracking it and seeing how your profit level is either increasing or decreasing or staying the same. One thing I will mention around profit is that often when I start working with law firm owners, they do not pay themselves a salary. They just take drawings. And I get that. When I first became a law firm owner, for the first probably 3 or 4 years, I took drawings as well. And some months it was great. I was able to pay myself a lot, but other months was shit. I was like, the amount that I was able to pay myself was pathetic, because, I was sort of paying myself after I'd paid everything else. Like, I was kind of putting myself last. And then I made a change. My accountant suggested to me that I start paying myself a PAYE salary. And I was quite skeptical about this at the time, but I decided to take her advice. And it was a huge improvement for me. It was a really big mindset shift, because instead of kind of paying myself last and paying myself sort of the bits that were left over, I was prioritizing paying myself along with the rest of my team. And after that was when the firm really started to grow. And I'm really sure that was a big, like, just that mindset shift for me, and the way that I reprioritized paying myself was a really big shift. And it also gave me a more stable income as well, which really helped with my anxiety around money and paying myself as a business owner. And of course, that less anxiety means that you have more time and energy and more mind space to worry about or to focus on the things that matter. And so it was really around that time that my firm really started to grow quickly. So that's number 4, profit. Number 5 is number of new client leads. So just as a recap, a lead is when somebody gives you their email address or contact details in exchange for something of value that you offer. So it might be somebody downloading a guide or a PDF from your website. It might be somebody signing up for a webinar that you are hosting. It might be somebody contacting you via your law firm's Facebook page, and having a quick conversation back and forth, and then they give you the email address so you can email them some information. Again, that is a lead. So knowing how many leads you're bringing into your law firm every month becomes really important as you start to scale, because all of this becomes part of a mathematical equation. Because so for example, if you know that for every client or every new matter that you open every month, you need to generate 10 leads, then that helps you to know how many leads you need to generate each month to hit your targets every month. And knowing that data and using that data and using it to drive your growth will help you be able to create a more consistent, reliable revenue, so that you're not just sort of starting off every month hoping that you'll get enough clients and enough leads to get those clients. You will be able to start off each month knowing exactly how many leads you need to get and how many new clients you need to get, which will help you to drive that growth. So that was number 5, number of new leads. Number 6 is how many new clients and new matters you bring on and open each month. That's probably something that if you're not already measuring that, that's probably something that you're able to get out of your practice management software if you use it. And again, that will help you to, measuring that will help you to drive towards growing your law firm and getting that revenue growth over time. Knowing the number of leads and knowing the number of new clients and matters that you bring on each month, again, it just becomes a mathematical equation that will help you drive growth in the future. And then number 7 is your ideal client ratio. So something that I teach as part of my Scale Up program with law firm owners is I help them to narrow their niche. So often when we first start working together, they've got quite a varied client base. And something that I know works to scale your law firm is to narrow your niche and choose an ideal client. So So this metric is all about looking at how many new clients you bring in each month and looking at how many of them meet your ideal client profile and how many you don't. When you narrow your niche, you don't instantly stop serving all your other clients who don't meet your ideal client profile. But what will organically happen over time is that because your marketing focus and your sales focus is as focused on your ideal client, you'll organically start to bring in more ideal clients, which as a result will probably mean you will start to bring in less of the clients who do not meet your ideal client profile. So recording this over time, measuring this over time, seeing how many ideal clients you bring in each month as opposed to how many non-ideal clients you bring in is a really important metric to measure. So for example, you might bring in 20 new clients a month, and to start with, maybe 5 of them meet your ideal client profile and 15 don't, and that's fine. But then within a few months, you will notice that maybe you bring in 20, 10 meet your ideal client profile and 10 do not. And then another few months later, that's growing again. And that means that you can start to see that, your marketing is working towards your ideal client. Also, as you grow your revenue and grow your profitability as well, you can start to see the impact that narrowing your niche and focusing on one ideal client has on that. So all these metrics begin to start to work together in that way. So as a recap, the 7 metrics to 7 figures. Number 1 is number of free days. Number 2 is number of days in your strengths. Number 3 is your revenue. Number 4 is measuring your profit. Number 5 is the number of leads you bring in each month. Number 6 is the number of new clients you bring and new matters you open each month. And number 7 is your ideal client ratio.
If there's anything these past months have shown us, it's that the time to make lasting, impactful change in the legal industry is right now. So I want to challenge you to shake things up and create change today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and share this video with your lawyer friends. See you next week.